What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recall Podcast. And as I said before, I have a very special guest. WandaMuniz is here with me. And listen, it's going to be so good. The title of this today is Cancer Saved My Life. You don't want to miss it. Let's roll. All right, everybody, welcome again. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, bang on that notification bell to stay connected to everything that's uploaded here at the Recall Podcast. And my guest today is WandaMuniz. Say what's up to the Recall fam.
Hey.
All right. So I had asked you earlier off camera what to title this because it's your story.
Right.
And you told me, Cancer Saved My Life. That sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds totally crazy to say something like that. And some people might not even understand why that thumbnail looks like that and says it. Why you say that?
So, when I first got diagnosed, it was difficult. And there was a lot of emotions, a lot of things that I was going through, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of the unknowns. And throughout my journey, like within the last year, I reflected back and I realized that I had just been in a journey of healing.
Okay.
So it wasn't just physical, it wasn't just cancer. It was a healing. I was healing spiritually, I was healing mentally, emotionally from trauma, past experiences. Just learning and researching so many different avenues that are not norm, especially for being diagnosed with cancer. I don't consider myself a cancer patient, but I do understand what was going on in my body at that time. So if I look at what cancer did, would I have still done the same exact things that I'm doing now to heal myself, to find a deeper part of myself and a deeper purpose of my life in every aspect? So like I said, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, would I have done the same thing? So when I look at it, I feel like, wow, okay, so cancer presented itself in my life, but cancer is also what brought me to exploring all these areas. And would I continue have led a road and a life that was even more destructive than before? You know what I mean? So to see that this came to light, it had to pull me back, stop me, refocus, regroup, and then try to move forward.
That's I think about what you're saying, and it's almost like cancer was like a slingshot.
Absolutely.
Like it was pulling you, and now it shot you forward. You said something very interesting tonight. You said you don't consider yourself a cancer patient. I don't understand what that means, because anybody with cancer, to me personally, is a cancer patient or someone who goes through chemotherapy. Did you go through chemotherapy?
I did not. So my diagnosis was an early stage breast cancer, stage 1A, meaning that there was a tumor in my left breast. None of my lymph nodes were affected, so that's where the A comes from, that nothing else was affected.
Okay.
I had a lumpectomy, and the protocol was chemotherapy and radiation. So chemotherapy,
which is terrible. Like, you can die from that.
Absolutely. Which is super toxic. They did different testings to determine that call, and I just felt it was extremely aggressive to give me chemo, being that my diagnosis was what it was. Mind you, my mom, who was diagnosed with breast cancer about 14, 15 years ago now, passed away, right? So her stage was aggressive. I'm her daughter. She was 50, I'm 41 at the time of my diagnosis. So that's scary because we're young.
Absolutely.
Right? But I got genetically tested. And so there's genes sometimes that we carry that can cause cancers to arise. So praise God, there was no genes.
Come on.
Right. So I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at my factors, and this is where I had to start really becoming my own advocate. And when I first was when I was first diagnosed, and I had to share with my children what was going on, and I waited until I knew for sure. I didn't want to put fear in them. I didn't want them to worry. I had to wait.
That must have been really tough.
Oh, it was so.
I can't even imagine you being just trying to do normal things,
Absolutely.
knowing that this is something that you're going to have to speak to your kids.
Yes, it was. I can't even describe the.
Did your husband know? Did a medical know?
Yes.
So a medical had to keep this himself as well.
Absolutely. Yes. So we were waiting for the results, and the results came. I was ready to take on, but that was the fight in me.
Yeah.
But of course, you get everything in front of you. Like, everything literally just comes in front of you. Like, okay, how do I even process this? Do I grieve it almost?
Yeah, you don't even know. Like,
right.
You're at a point where it's like, okay, am I even going to live? Like, is this the end? Am I, like, I can't even imagine what thought processes go through. You gotta be, like, looking at flowers and thinking, oh my gosh, am I ever going to see a flower? Like,
you're not lying.
It's got to be so eye-opening to the reality of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember being in my bedroom, looking at my perfume and putting perfume and saying, am I going to be doing this? Like, you look at everything you do day to day, and it could be as simple as putting on perfume or just your daily routines. And am I going to be doing it? How much longer am I going to be doing this?
Yeah, that's
I can't, so, yeah,
it
is something. But me telling my kids the Lord spoke. And I knew it was him. And I knew without a doubt a peace sat over me. And when I told my children, I told them, my journey is not my mom's journey. And it will not be the same.
Speak it.
And that was such, it was what really pushed me forward into, okay, I know it's going to be different. It's not going to look the same. And I really wasn't even speaking on death, just the process itself.
The journey itself is going to be
Absolutely.
different than what your mother went through.
Absolutely. My mom was diagnosed. Within a year, she had a mastectomy, which her entire breast was removed. She went through chemotherapy. She went through radiation. And a year to the date, she passed away.
So exactly the year that they diagnosed her, a year from then, she passed away. She went through all the medical procedures, right?
Yes,
she went through all the stuff that doctors recommend.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that doctors don't know how to diagnose or recommend things.
Right.
But at the same time, you said holistically, you got healed. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people don't want to talk about holistic things because it takes away the money from the pharmacies, from, that whole big pharma.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So your journey, you tell your children. Now, I know you personally, so I know your family and everything else. What was that like telling your sisters and dealing with some of your really close friends? You know what I mean? What was it like to talk to them and tell them?
It was hard because here they are trying to be strong for me, but they're going through their own emotions and their own feelings. And being the person that I am, I feel like I have to be strong for you because your feelings are valid,
Absolutely.
And especially my sisters, having to lose our mom. And then here we are with dealing with this again. With my older sister especially, she takes on that. She's the older sister, so she takes on the role, right? Yeah. She takes the role, like, okay, what you need, and I'm like, it's okay. One time she had a whole moment, she just broke down. I'm like, it's okay, and I'm encouraging her. I'm like praying with her, like. So the roles are reversed, and here we are, like, but I should be doing that for you. And I'm like, but you do, and you will. But I also have to be there for you.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to have those feelings and those, and that outlet, even if it's with me, it's okay. So it was A lot of just newness, new things that I was just so unaware of. But it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always positive and, I'm going to fight and, all of
I'm pretty
these
sure you
things.
had days where you were completely
Yeah.
devastated,
So I feel like
thinking about it.
the battle started after I had surgery.
Okay, so after you had surgery to remove,
I removed the tumor, yeah.
you battled and thought, like, is it going to come back? Those type of things, did I make the right decision? All those things. Because a lot of people say that once you're cut open,
right,
it can spread and do all those things. So, a lot of people are scared at that point because you've allowed somebody to go in and remove it. But did everything get removed? Or, so I can imagine, like, what was the mental warfare that you experienced during this time that maybe you didn't even share with anybody? It was just in here. You know what I mean?
Yes. So I still go through that.
Okay.
Not as much, but it was exactly that. A lot of mental warfare. There was, in the beginning, after surgery, I went in, I started reading, I started doing research. I was just coming across things. So there was a lot of new information that it was new territory. I mean, mind you, I feel like the year before, 2021, I lost approximately 60 to 70 pounds.
Okay.
I did that naturally. I know that it was a preparation for what was to come. And so I did everything natural. I started changing everything that I ate. I started exercising. I went into this really journey of health and wellness, just out of a whim. It wasn't even anything specific that led me there. But 2022, here we are. Oh, wow, I lost all this weight. I'm healthy. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. But you got cancer.
And then boom.
Right, you got cancer. So, okay.
That's kind of like you got to be like, you know what I mean? I should just freaking eat unhealthy.
Right.
Like throw every cheeseburger down my throat and eat everything I possibly can. I'm going to end up with cancer.
Yes.
Like, well, I did this journey. But
Right.
I think that, as I'm listening to what you're saying, I really feel like your journey of healthiness actually helped you in this next. Because if you've been unhealthy, it would have been harder.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I feel that was the pathway to what was going to come, because we're not exempt. Like, I know that the Lord had told me I'm not exempt from trials and errors. I'm not exempt from certain things in life.
Yeah.
Like, we can question why, we can have all these things, but that's not one of his promises.
Yeah.
That we're not going to go through things. If anything, he tells us what we're going to
do. You're going to go through
right,
them,
absolutely.
but I'm with you. And I've overcome them.
That's
you know what I mean? So that's how you got to come into the mindset. But again, coming into that mindset and you're thinking cancer is a big word. This is not like, you're dealing with tonsillitis, you know what I'm saying? Or dealing with an earache. You're dealing with something that has put millions of people in a grave.
Yes.
And now you have this in your body.
Yes.
And you just had the surgery and you're doing all this stuff. I mean, were you working at the time? Did you stop working? Like, what was going on with
I was
situation?
out of work. After I had the surgery, I was out of work. Again, they wanted me to do chemo. And after researching and the test that they gave me a test called an oncotype test. And that test will determine how effective chemo would be for my type. Being that I was the age that I was, that I had history, but there was no genetic, connection.
Yeah.
Being just a whole lot of in the type of cancer. So it was hormone driven. All of these different factors. My score was supposed to have been a 24, which is pretty high on the scale from my age. That's why they recommended that I get the chemo.
Yeah.
But they also give you a percentage, which would say how you would benefit from having it. The percentage was like 1%.
Yeah, don't even say.
Right. So I'm looking at the doctor, and I don't undermine no doctor. You are what you do.
Yeah,
This is your
you went to
field.
school for that.
Absolutely. And I do not.
Well, that percentage spoke to you.
Excuse me.
1%? That means I don't even need to do this.
He even said, he goes, oh, that's an error. You know, all of the, and I just was like, no, I don't think that's an error, sir. Like, I really, I don't. And then was funny, and I don't, listen, I appreciate doctors. They are great in medicine. There are great things that they do. But I have to be my own advocate, and I have to know,
you know your body, you know who you are.
Absolutely.
And doctors, as much as they want to help you, still have an oath and a pledge to what they've said yes to, which is putting medicine in your body. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So after
I said that real nicely.
Yeah. So after I said, well, I think I'm going to decline that. He said, well, you know, I don't think you really need it anyway. Okay.
But hold on, you was just telling
right.
he was just telling you that you needed it.
Right.
So because you declined it, he's like, oh yeah, okay, all right. That's
yeah, but let's make sure you do the radiation. And I was on board for the radiation.
Radiation is so dangerous though.
Yeah.
And like you're literally putting waves of nuclear energy into your body to kill something when that's not
like if
that's
they don't
not,
want us to have to use a microwave, but you want to radiate a part of my body that can literally cut concrete.
Yes.
Like, yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna work either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
these are really hard decisions, and I battled a lot. And this is where the warfare came, and I felt I had so many people and so much support, and yet I felt alone.
Yeah.
I felt alone.
I mean, you're the only one to make the decision.
Yeah.
Everybody was supporting you. I remember seeing online, you got the t-shirts and everything. Like you were it was a big campaign for you. It was huge. Mm-hmm. But I can imagine that, like, I thank you for the t-shirts. I thank you for this. I thank you for that. But you're not the one dealing with this.
Yeah.
It's me. You know what I mean? And dealing with that, you are going to be alone. Mm-hmm. I mean, even your husband probably couldn't even really sit in your shoes. He can comfort you. Your family can comfort you. But you're the one that goes to sleep at night knowing you wake up every day dealing with this. Mm-hmm. It's in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I went through. I mean, through that, after the surgery, it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of researching. It was a lot of making decisions. Am I making the right decision? And is this what you want from me, Lord? Am I going to die? Is it going to come back? And that, I think, was where fear really sat in for just a little bit. I don't think prior there was fear. There was so much movement and doctors and appointments and tests and all
you were going all over the place.
Right, that you don't really have time to process. It's almost like, if someone passes, you don't have time. You got to get a funeral, you got to do all this.
Everything.
And so once everything settled and I had the surgery and things became a little more quiet and people were still calling and, encouraging and things like that. And that was amazing. It became more real for me. And that's when I feel like some fear try to set in. What if I don't live, to 45? What if it comes back and, comes more aggressive? And then you start feeling, well, I have this little sensation here. What's that?
The thing on your pinky, anything. It's like, yo, what is this?
Absolutely.
I can imagine you feeling like very sensitive to anything on your person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so even with that, I started reading into different people who have healed naturally. And so the holistic and alternative medicine became where I'm like, okay, I can't just not do anything. Yeah. I mean, I did have surgery. Like you said, I was cut open.
Yeah, so you still got to do something.
Right. And I started doing more research and really just praying about all of my decisions. It had to be, I'm like, God, and even in this time, I felt like there was a lot of silence. I didn't have direct answers. I mean, I didn't have dreams. I'm a dreamer. I had no dreams. Like, I might have like one dream. And I just felt so alone. Like, what is going on? Like, do you really have me here? Like, in this lonely wilderness, for what reason? Yeah. Like, I need you and I don't hear you. And I can't call on people. And I mean, I can, but that's not what.
But that's not what you
I
want.
need.
Yeah, you don't want.
They can't tell me.
You gonna speak to me or not?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot. I started seeing a holistic doctor. I started seeing alternative doctors. And I started different protocols. And so just being proactive and trying to build my immune system the best way that I can. A lot of things that I do now are still not from this country. They are, France does them, Germany does them, Japan.
How do you get the stuff? It's local, like you can get it here?
It's doctors that are here.
Okay.
They have certain equipment that uses your body to
Your body heals yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what holistic healing is.
I do a lot of supplements. Of course, my diet is a very big part of my entire lifestyle right now at this point, and there is no turning back. This is a forever thing.
Yeah. So we were talking about dietary laws, right? Now let's talk about it because I know some people won't get really, really upset about what we're about to say, but I personally have joined the same thinking as you, where I'm not eating pork anymore, and I'm not eating shellfish, I'm not eating shrimp or any of those things. What are the benefits to that? Because I mean, right now I just started, right? So it's probably been like 4 months since I've been not eating pork. I love bacon. You know what I mean? Like I'm not eating that stuff. And for me personally, it's not that cancer has hit me. I read it in the Word, and I'm reading off of what Scripture says in Leviticus chapter. The book of Leviticus says there's dietary laws that we need, right, to follow through.
Right.
You going in this journey, cancer hits your body. You get the surgery. You're being, now you're going into holistic healing. Obviously, diet is going to be a big issue. How did you make did you just quit cold turkey? Because you can cook. She can cook. She can cook. So I know pork chops is something that, you know what I mean?
I haven't made pork chops in so long. My son's like, Mom, you don't make pork chops? Nope.
So how did that affect just you, the household? Because, you're a cook. You know what I mean? You love to cook. You love to feed. You're very hospitable. You love hospitality and all that. Now your diet changes.
Yeah.
How does that affect everything?
Right. So in the beginning, I didn't feel it was too hard because I'm like, all right, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I started juicing. I cut out. I almost became. Well, I don't want to say I almost became, but I started really looking into plant-based.
Okay.
And going in that direction, which is really, really good for you.
You need some type of protein, though.
Well, you can find protein other ways, but for me, because there are people that listen. I'm a firm believer in what you feel is for your body.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give up meat. I wanted to have meat. Now, what does that mean and how does that look? We eat way too much meat. We eat meat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacking things in between. Everything has to have meat. You make vegetables, you put meat, Yeah. So I'm like, all right, we have way too much meat. That's too much. So I started looking into our ancestors, right? And I started looking about my holistic doctor. She shared about blood types.
Okay.
And I'm blood type O positive.
Okay.
So my people were hunters. And she believes, I don't believe everything, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to take what I feel like is good for me.
Yeah.
They ate meat, but they didn't eat meat all the time. You know what I mean? It's when it was available. And the type of meat they ate was important. You have to remember, they meat that ate from the wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were not these.
It wasn't processed. It wasn't injected with all this stuff and everything. I get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went into that, and it wasn't that hard in the beginning because I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. I didn't expect my family. I didn't expect my family to jump on board, but I did want the support, and it was there to a degree. But I feel like a lot of times, most people, we tend to eat with our emotions, and I feel like most of my family at home did that. And I want to be healthy. I want y'all to be healthy.
Absolutely.
I can't. But at the same time, I can't force that.
No. You
have to want that. Yeah. So it became challenging, and at times, and it's still challenging to this moment. I will not buy certain things because I still shop in the house.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Absolutely.
You want certain things, you won't have to go get it.
Yep.
And that's including them kids.
Yeah. Pay the money.
Right.
Yep.
But I feel like both my children and my husband have adopted and learned a lot. Now the choice is theirs, And Jaden, my son, he did follow a lot. He listened. I mean, he listened to a lot of the things I said, and he wanted change, and he lost 40 pounds on his own.
Wow, Jaden looks great.
Yeah,
Jaden looks great.
Pounds.
So that's awesome. So holistic healing. You're dealing with just a new diet and everything else. What does life look like for you right now? Like, do you see the sun brighter? Do you know what I mean? Like, how does this ordeal and everything that you've been through, let me ask you two full questions.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see life, and how has that tightened your relationship with God?
Okay. So I see life as extremely vulnerable. And we take way too much for granted.
Okay.
I feel like I had to face death. I had to accept that we are going to die. We don't know when our expiration date. I mean, we know this, but you know it differently
when it's there.
When it's
like,
absolutely.
Hello. When it knocks.
Yeah. And I had to go through that, and it was hard, and I felt like I almost grieved my own death, because when that time comes, I won't.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you won't know you're dead.
Right. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm here now, and I had to, not that I had to do anything, but in order for me to move on and allow fear to leave me, I had to accept we're going to die. Whether it be cancer or no cancer, we're going to be here
everybody's
forever.
Going to die. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so that was how I started viewing life. What mattered before don't matter no more. So many little things. But then there was a part of me that was like trying to hold on to normalcy. And I feel like I battled that. And I feel like that's part of like flesh. So just continue to be normal, regular things.
You really can't.
Silly things, but you can't. And it's like, okay, well, how much time do I have? Because I want to tell my kids this, and I want to do this. And so it became that. I started, my relationship with God has, till this moment, been not the same. In so many different ways. I feel like I've drawn closer, but yet there's so much still that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And when I say that is because this entire process and this part of my life has allowed me to have a different purpose in life. And I'm like, I really don't know what that looks like. But I did one time, I rented a room, spoke to my husband, and I said, I need to spend time alone with the Lord. Like, I need to be alone. I need to shut the world off.
Yeah. Okay, so you were saying that you told our medical that you needed to be alone because you needed answers. And in the answers, God showed you how.
So when I ended up staying at a room, at a hotel room, and I know I needed to be alone, and I needed some answers. And so I spent my time, I listened to some preachers, I listened to Miles Monroe, I had time of worship, but I also had time of just silence. And so during that time, it wasn't like I had a direct answer. It wasn't anything very specific, but I started to write. And when I started writing, it became almost like I was writing a dream of like life, a vision of a purpose in life, right?
That's so you're writing like actual like details of something.
Yes.
Okay.
Details. So that's exactly what it was. And I just started writing what I felt the Lord was putting. But at first I just was like, well, maybe I'm just writing, things together. But because I know I like to cook, and that's what I do, I feel like I'm in my element in that area.
Absolutely.
It's just a gift, and I enjoy doing it. Like, it's just weird. Like, I throw oil in, and I'm like, and it
you
just,
the sizzle and
I get excited. Uh-huh. So during this time, I started writing recipes, and I started writing just different things, and I felt like my purpose has changed, of what and really not change. Maybe I just discovered it.
You just didn't know it was there.
I didn't know it was there. And so,
it was bigger than just loving to cook for people. It was something that God wanted to use food in your life to do something else.
Right. And a lot of times food is medicine. And, so that's what I started writing, and I spent that time there, and I left there with a sense of purpose. I mean, it wasn't fully wrapped and detailed, but I left with no answer to the question that I came there for.
Yeah.
So,
Also, you had a question that still didn't get answered.
Right.
But God gave you a vision.
Right.
Okay. God has his way of doing things. So he'll be like, you want the answer, but I need you to write this down because the answer is found within what you're writing.
Yeah. So, but I spent that time and it was good. And the answer came, I was revisiting if I was getting a mastectomy, and just have everything removed. And so when I went to the doctors, I went to the doctor's appointment, excuse me, literally, and I still didn't have an answer. And I sat in the car and I said, okay, when I walk inside, I said, you're going to have to just speak. So whatever comes out of my mouth, that's going to be what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And when I sat with the doctor, and she, she's a breast specialist. She's a surgeon.
Okay.
And out of all the doctors that I've encountered, I feel she's the one who genuinely cares more.
Okay.
And I've always had a connection with her, so I kind of listen to her sometimes, but I've done pretty much nothing that they've asked me besides have the lumpectomy.
Yeah.
But when I sat with her and I told her, I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth because I really was unsure. I'm like, I should just do it, and no, don't do it. And
that had to be crazy.
I know.
Sitting there at the desk,
and she literally was like, okay, so have you made a decision? And I said, I think I have. And my decision is, I don't think that that's what I need to do right now. And her face was like saddened. I've had doctors get smart with me.
That's crazy. It's your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's you. You know what I'm saying? You can't get smart with somebody. You trying to help them.
Right. And she looked sad and concerned, and I get it out of your experience and my age and all of these factors.
Think you're going to walk out of those doors and you're going to die. That's basically what they're thinking.
Right.
That's crazy.
And I understand that, but, I serve a different type of God, so.
Absolutely.
I don't, if you believe like me, then, it'd be different.
Exactly.
But, and that's how I left and made that decision, and, it hasn't been easy. I have moments, and I go through things, and I have ups and downs, and I don't really go back to, I don't have regrets on the decisions.
I was just about to ask you, do you have any regrets?
No, I don't really have regrets on my decisions, but I still battle my health and diet. Am I making this right choice? Am I having this? Oh, I didn't do this today. Sometimes it becomes, like, too much.
Yeah, because it's like in anything, right? So, like, even with God, like, if you make him ritualistic,
right,
you're not going to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, you're taking care of your body, but if you miss a day, it's not going to be the end of everything. So you got to kind of like maybe formulate in your mind that it's okay to mess up, but not stay there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that with what you're saying, it's so important. And I think, just writing it down, this is something that, when I went to start the podcast, it was funny because Blake was the one that helped me out, right? She was like, oh, you need to do this, and I was like, all right, listen. And meetings with her are amazing. So she's like, did you write things down? Did you write the ideas that you want? Do you know who you want to interview? Do you know what it is? And I'm like, yeah, but not yeah. Because I'm the type of person, like, I'll get in here and just open up the Bible and teach the whole thing and be like, I'm good. But when it comes to having purpose for the channel, having purpose for it, I got to write it down. You were one of the guests that I immediately wrote down before you even knew. I had already had your name. I was like, this is a person I want to interview because of their life and what's going on in their life right now. So I'm making things on purpose, and I think that sometimes we take faith and act like purpose isn't part of it. We take faith and just be like, well, I'm going to just throw it out there in a whim and see how the dice rolls. But that's not what happens. Every time I see faith in the Bible, as I read it, there's instruction that came with it. Abraham had to go this place. David had to do that. All the people had to do stuff. So you got instructions. Now you're on the journey of faith.
Right. Excuse me. Yeah, so I got instructions. I can't say that I'm moving. I mean, I'm moving in that direction, but it's not something that I do intentional, I would say, because I'm a thinker, I'm a planner. I do things very specifically, and that is almost like a part of my control. But this is God's work.
Yeah.
So I can't really control things he can't do his work if I'm like still trying to hold on.
If you're trying to hold on to everything, he's like,
right.
well then I'm gonna let go.
Right. And so, some of the vision comes from me doing the platter sale, which is just something.
Which was delicious.
Thank you. And I tried, I thought about that last year, and then I think about it, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll put it away.
It's very difficult to do something like that, though,
yeah.
because especially when your food is good, you can really get a lot of orders, and then you're cooking all day.
Right, and not knowing how that's going to look, and not becoming overwhelming, and, just trying to keep it all together. But when I thought about it this time, I was like, nope, I'm just going to do it. Because if I think about it, I'm not going to do it.
If you think about it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
Because what you're going to do is you're going to put everything in the paper and look at it and be like,
right.
There's no way in heck I'm going to be able to, how am I going to do this? But if you do it, then God will show you that you can do it. You had a great team with you. You know what I mean? So they helped you out. Not like you did it by yourself. Your family was there, which is amazing. Because those are not just moments of faith, but they're moments of experience and just times of the family that you can be like, man, you remember when we did this? You know what I mean? I think that's awesome. How has your family reacted to your journey? Like, your daughter, your son, your husband, do they hold you closer to the chest now? Do they listen to your words? Are they more attentive to your needs? Like, how has that changed the dynamic of the home?
I would say for the most part, I think they do, right? Because I'm a real big observer, so I watch every little thing, and I'll hold you to it, but I think they do, and I say that because I know that I might have mentioned it before, but if I haven't, there's a part of us that try to continue being normal and not make everything about cancer.
Yeah.
And I didn't want cancer to dominate.
That could be so overwhelming.
Yeah, and there's a lot of new information and new things that we're doing in the house and lifestyles and changes and all of this stuff, and still just processing what's going on, and you still want to have that kind of that normalcy. And so for the most part, I mean, I guess I thought, I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe they'll do all of these things.
They'll wash clothes more and
right.
the dishes, and they'll cook for me, and they're like, girl, you good. Go ahead, get back to work.
Yeah, so I felt like, I don't know, sometimes I look at it and I laugh at my own self because I'm funny that way. I'll think about those things and I'm like, okay, you still get on my nerves, and
nothing has changed.
I
still
get on your nerves, and we're still having life, but I still appreciate.
But that's
those
beautiful
moments.
Though.
Yes.
Because it could have not been.
Absolutely.
So you take those moments and be like, when you're getting on my nerves, I'm still here.
Yes.
So you can get on my nerves because it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, the perspective of things has changed. Like, before it would irritate you. Now it's just like, yeah, you get on my nerves, but you're here to get on my nerves. And I'm here to get on your nerves. And it changes everything. The conversations and just the way that you hold dear to friends and just family and all those things, right? How when you are now in a situation with people, do you still find yourself getting offended? Do you find yourself dealing with those type of emotions, or is it like water off a duck's back because of just the fact that why? It's like it's not worth it, or do you still deal with those emotions?
I can't say I really. Well, no, I don't think I really deal with those emotions the way I did before. I'm very emotional, and not just like in a crying way. I deal with a lot of my emotions all the time. They're always on 100.
They're right here.
All the time, yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning, through therapy, why I'm going through these, why I behave the way I behave, and why I respond and react, and all of these things. So no, I would say that I don't hold everything so personal and get offended so easily. I've learned to let that go, but there's still a part of me that has it, and I think I have that more so with my like my family at home, because they're so dear to me, and I love them so much, and they've seen so much, and we've experienced so much, which makes me upset at times, because I'm like, I shouldn't even be like that with them, period. Like, that's the closest people to me. But I'm learning. And I try every day to apply, just different things, and learn to just be easy. I'm real hard on myself.
I think the love that you have for your family, I love my family with everything, but I get on their nerves, and they get on my nerves. And, it's something that, for me, when it comes to tight family, like you're with them every day, yeah, you can get irritated and all these things, but to be anywhere else but around them is what you want. You know what I mean? You want, even if the house gets into a little screaming match, you know what I'm saying? And it's okay, because we're all there. One last question, and then we'll wrap up this episode. Somebody dealing with emotions, right, and dealing with it in the sense of almost facing death. Where do you see yourself as far as the transformation, right, and moving forward? How are you going to deal with just life, emotions, and disappointments moving forward? Because there's nothing more disappointing than dying. So now, what do those disappointments look like? How does the perspective change on those things that would have been totally a wreck? Now you might not be a wreck on these things. Moving forward, what does it look like for you?
So I would say that, again, this whole process has been about healing. I would say that healing is what needs to take place. When we heal from trauma, experience, hurts, and pains, and we can deal with life a little bit differently. We can accept things that we probably wouldn't normally accept. So if you're disappointed in things, and you hold on to just whatever it is, it could be offenses, and that's a very big trauma. Yeah. Because you're causing it to yourself, right?
Yeah. You're self-sabotaging yourself.
You are. And so, being disappointed is something that, if you set an expectation from someone, if I expect you, blah, 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 and you don't meet my expectations, then I'm going to be disappointed. So stop trying to put expectations on people.
Yeah.
Right, because people are going to be people. And so, finding your source is important. So finding God is so important. And if you don't have that in your life, I don't know how you're really going to move forward in anything. Yeah. That's key to everything. I mean, we really are in this. I feel like our life here is really, there's a purpose. Everybody has a purpose. What that purpose is, we don't know. And a lot of times we spend our life trying to find it. And people think sometimes, I have God, so it has to be some type of a ministry, right? And when I say that, it has to be, I need to lead this or lead that. Yeah. No, a lot of times it's not that. The purpose can be so many different things. I mean, it could literally be just working at whatever job you have, and that is your purpose, because God has, so many different people that you might
minister to, talk to, this and
anything.
I tell people all the time, 90% of the church will never touch the 10% of the pulpit. I say it all the time. only 10% are really called here. And those 10% are scrutinized way more than the other 90 that they're trying to. So I tell people all the time, if you're part of the 90, be happy because you have a platform that's bigger than just coming twice a week.
Right.
You have something that God wants to use. So God is going to use, like you said, cancer saved your life. So God is going to use that to now reach so many people. I mean, look at you. You're on the podcast, and this is not the only one you're going to be on. It's not the only platform that's going to utilize your story and allow you to express what this did for you, right? So as we close out, I want to thank you first for being on the podcast. It's been a blessing. Anything else you want to say to anybody?
Just allow your experiences, allow your experiences to just bring healing in your life. Change your perspective. Change how you see things and what you think were meant for evil, how God can turn it around for his good. There's always good in our trials. There's always a lesson. There's always something that you can gather from that time and use it as a weapon, use it as the next step. Change your perspective. Don't allow what people say or do or how you feel. Because feelings,
they lie.
Yeah. They're not, right. They're not always true. So just don't allow yourself to stay there. Work your way out, but rely on God.
And I love how she said, change your perspective. That's the biggest thing. She said, cancer saved her life. What a way to change your perspective. This has been the Recall Podcast. Listen, if you're new here, like, subscribe, bang on that notification bell so you can stay connected to everything that we upload. Brand new episode coming Monday. Again, thank you, Wanda, for being with us.
Thank you for having
me. Y'all, pray for her. Keep praying for her and her journey and everything that's going on. And maybe soon you'll be able to taste her food. Because it's the bomb. Trust me. All right, y'all. God bless. Peace.